Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 354.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode and another week. Hope you're all keeping well and safe. Hope you had a cracking one. And that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Related.
354 is upon us. We have a little bit of news to get through. Very cool bit of news. I love this one. Very muchly deserved. Indeed, this one. And then we're on to our review of some classic Who. Old Hartnell, bit of first Doctor action.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, bless him. Yeah, we've got The Rescue coming up. One of those cheeky little two-parters. All good. Yes. You very rarely see them sort of what would you say, somebody's era. Like, you don't really see many two-parters in the early classic years.
It's nice, isn't it? I'd forgotten it was two as well. I was thinking, right, got a bit of a classic Who this week. I better get the old DVD in, and then I'd just completely forgotten it was just a two-part. Been a long time since I've watched this one, actually. Two-parters. I always think of Davison, although I always think of Davison, I think he's only got two. I don't know why I associate two-parters with him. It's like The Awakening and Black Orchid, and he might have another one, I'm not sure. But Frontiers, is that a two-parter or is that four? No, it's four, I think. Yeah, but I mean, Edge of Destruction, that's the first Hartnell one. Was that a three-parter?
That was two parts.
I'm getting confused now. Yeah.
The Edge of Destruction, self-titled, and then The Edge of the Brink of Disaster, part 2. Yep. So you don't really see many little two-parters because when Adam and I record, and we get to the end of it, and we have a little sort of debrief at the end, like what went well in this week's recording, what didn't, and then we talk about the story that we're going to record next week, and so on. And it goes one of two ways. It's either like, oh bloody hell, this is 6 parts. Even if it's a great story, it's like, oh crikey, 6 parts. Sort of half joking, we love it. But and then when we get to like modern Doctor Who, where it's just a single ep 9 times out of 10, 45 minutes or whatever, we're like, okay, cool, yep, lovely.
Have we done the War Games? Because that's obviously a whopping 10-part. I've got a feeling we have, haven't we?
We have.
Did we do the War Games?
We did, mate. Yeah, we did that quite a while back, actually.
I thought we had, yeah.
Yeah, we did that back for episode 100. So that would have been...
Wow, was it really? Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so I don't know what year that would have been in. So probably 2016, I'm guessing. Yep, here we go. I got it. The War Games. We both gave it a 9 out of 10.
Wowzers, yeah.
Yeah. Time flies, eh? One day you're doing the War Games. The next minute you wake up and realise what life decisions you've made to bring you to doing a Doctor Who podcast in this fandom. Eh? It's difficult. Difficult. Right, what have you been up to, you old bugger? Anything Doctor Who?
Yes, I've actually done something Doctor Who related this week, and it was a cracking thing as well. So we took a trip down to Liverpool for a couple of days. It's only the second time I've ever... Sorry?
Liverpool.
Yep. Lime Street in Liverpool. And it's only the second time I've ever been to Liverpool, and we just love it down there. We just have such a good time when we go. And obviously the new Doctor Who exhibition has just opened down there, the Worlds of Wonder. So my partner was thrilled when I mentioned that we'd have to be going to it as we were going to Liverpool, because we weren't specifically going for that. Well, I was, but that wasn't the original plan. And it's brilliant. It's honestly, it's so good. I wasn't sure what to expect because I've seen some photographs from it, So I knew that there was going to be props, you know, like a bit like the Doctor experience. Like I hoped it would have that sort of vibe, and it is exactly that. It's like a smaller version of the Doctor experience, but there's still plenty in there. And I mean, the Doctor experience, when you think back, I mean, we all miss it, but it was huge, you know. I mean, it couldn't possibly be on that scale again. But it's a good size exhibition. It's well laid out. It looks brilliant. They've kept everything so nice and simple. So like all the props and costumes to that are all on display on these nice lit up boards. So you walk in through the TARDIS, you immediately see the first Doctor's console in front of you. Then you walk round and there's like the K1 robot and K9 on the floor and the Scovox Blitzer. Then there's going to the next room and there's Omega, you know, and it just goes on and on. There's Cassandra and she all lights up and talks to, you know, the last human Cassandra. There's Ice Warriors, and then they've got all the Cybermen heads all lined up together, showing all the different variations, and you just keep walking through and through and through. And so there's loads of costumes, loads of props, cabinets of sonic screwdrivers and confession dials. There's just so much to see, and I spent a good 2 hours in there. I literally went round and round and round, and when we got to the end we went round again, because it's so easy to miss stuff, because it's not just the props and everything. There is like a learning element to it, but there's also lots of fun interactive things to do. Me being like a big kid, I just wanted to go around and take a million pictures of all the props, so I was sort of missing all the sort of interactive things that you could do as you go around. Whereas my other half was like, hang on a minute, what's this? What's this screen? And I'm like, oh, I'll come back to that in a minute. I want to go and talk to Davros, you know. So over there taking pictures of Davros. But there's lots of other things to actually do. So there's loads of little interactive panels that you can do stuff on. And there's a voice changer, so you can make yourself sound like a Dalek. You know, you record something and it plays it out loud. There's information all over the wall about episodes, Doctors, and it all ties it into, you know, real science fiction. It's just, honestly, there's so much to see and do. If you want to just take it in, you could spend ages in there. So it's a good size exhibition, not massive, not small, just a good size exhibition, but it's absolutely full of brilliant stuff. And it was just, yeah, it just gave me that buzz of like, this is like being back in like a mini version of the Doctor experience. I absolutely loved it, mate. Honestly, we had the best time, and they've really made an effort. You know, I took about 1 million photos, as you can imagine. There's like a mural on the wall of weeping angels with the TARDIS as you go in. There's a weeping angel waiting for you at the door of the actual museum before you even get in the exhibition. There's just loads. Honestly, it's what they've managed to cram into the sort of the exhibition itself is brilliant, actually. But just to see all the original props out again, all dusted down, looking all clean and new. Yeah, really, really good. And I think you're going to go this weekend, aren't you?
Yes, buddy. I'm going up to Liverpool on Sunday. So, yeah, thank you for dropping the biggest spoiler for the event just then. So now I'm not going to experience it fresh. Nice. You've just told me everything that's there. So
no, I haven't. Believe me, I've only scratched the surface. There's loads.
I'm joshing, of course. Yeah, it's going to be cool, because it's one of those things where, because Adam and I are so, I wouldn't say miffed off, but we miss the Doctor Who experience in Cardiff lots. Mm-hmm. And yes. I think at the moment this is probably the closest we're going to get to it for a little while. So I'm not sure when it's moving. When we covered this story months ago, was it a thing where it's going to move around the country? I can't remember if that's the case or not. But
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how long it's going to be in Liverpool before it closes or moves to another location. So I need to get on it and go and see it. What you going to do?
It's definitely worth it. I think the ticket was £14. My partner thought that was quite a lot. It is a lot, but I think the problem is with everything nowadays is so expensive. We all know prices are going through the roof. I personally, I thought it was worth it. I mean, £14, it is a lot, but I think there's enough in there to justify it. And as I said, I think you can go round and round it a couple of times and still see new things. And there's plenty of photo opportunities, like, you know, you can stand in front of the TARDIS prop and all that sort of stuff. And it's got a little gift shop as you come out, of course, full of some of the oldest Doctor Who. I don't know where they found some of this Doctor Who merch. Some of it is obviously just been in a warehouse unsold for years, but there's some new bits in there as well. They've created some new merchandise for the exhibition, but there was like I don't know what they're called, like little die cast models of Daleks that are in this orange packaging, which must be from like what, early 2000? I don't know, they're really old. Photo frames of Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman in, you know, that has obviously been kicking around for years. There's lots of stuff in there, but yeah,
sounds
nice
cool,
little
dude.
shop. Yeah.
Talking of Peter Capaldi.
Oh yes.
Yeah, there's my wife is from East London, so we're back in London fairly regularly, I would say. We sort of split our time between sort of Wales and Cardiff area in London. And when we're in London, we always go to this cafe in Bethnal Green called Plaque's, which is like a famous cafe. If anyone's seen any of the Cray films and stuff, it's always in there, and they normally get some celebs in there. Anyway, Mr. Capaldi was there yesterday or the day before. Yeah. On their Instagram feed, there was he had his shades on, looking very cool in the corner.
Sonic shades.
Yeah, Sonic shades. Oh God, yeah, the old Sonic shades. And I didn't see it myself, but my wife immediately sent it over to me and said, "Look who's at Plaque's." It's like, oh, we should have been there. Should have been in London that weekend. Would have stole them shades, ran off down the street. You don't need them. But it was quite cool. That it's always lovely to see. Always lovely to see our Doctors out. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Talking of Capaldi, then, the 12th Doctor, have you seen that? This might be corrected, we don't know, but the new Doctor Who calendar is missing a certain Doctor, a Mr. Capaldi, which, so this is obviously for next year. The calendar's coming out already. I can't believe they're already releasing it. But so he's on the front. There's a tiny little picture of the 12th Doctor at the front, but he doesn't have a page inside. He's been completely missed out somehow. Uh-huh. I mean, I know there's a lot of Doctors to cram in. I get that they might be struggling, but you can't just say, "Oh, don't worry about 12. No one, you know, he hasn't got any fans. We'll forget about him," because he has got a lot of fans, and we're not very happy about it. So I hope they correct that, because
well, yeah, of course, yeah.
You can't have a 12-month. You can't have an official Doctor Who calendar missing out one Doctor. That's just,
of course not.
Wrong.
No, that's ridiculous. Yeah,
I don't get why they don't just do like what they did a couple of years back, a calendar with the classic Doctors and a calendar with the newer Doctors. You could have it up to McGann in one calendar, then they haven't got to worry, and then do all the other ones, because they're trying to cram in everything now. I mean, it's got like, you know, the War Doctor, obviously, you've got the Roof Doctor. It's just getting very crowded. I mean, the cover just looks so messy as well. It's just too many Doctors, you know.
For God's sake.
I mean, they'll have the Morbius Doctors on there soon. The Morbius Doctors calendar. I mean, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Interns, mate. Running the
interns.
The asylum. Yeah. Yeah. We need to cut some content out of here. Who do we cut? Just pick someone. All right then. You watch the show, don't you? Yeah. Looks over at their colleague, shakes their head. No, I don't watch it. Who can we cut? Oh, this old dude looks all right.
This old dude, yeah.
Let's get rid of him. Come on. You're better than this. Come on.
Well, someone did say that it could be, I mean, we assume it's just, you know, them that have left him out. It could be Capaldi has not approved his image. I mean, that's, because apparently
it's not down to him.
No?
Nope. No, so when you're... please don't quote me on this. I'm no expert, but I'm 99% sure that when you sign your contract to star in insert name of TV or film here, the studio or the production company has the right to use your on-screen likeness of your character in anything. So even if he hated the image they've used, there's nothing you can do.
Okay, yeah, you might be right there, because I think I remember Eccleston moaning about that at some point. Eccleston moaning? Surely not. Yeah, I'm sure I've heard him banging on about his image being used for something
all sorts,
he didn't want. Yeah, a toothpaste holder or something. Oh, they've used my pen. But you could be right. I remember, though, Billie Piper giving her approval to one of the Big Chief figures, and they apparently sent her 3 heads to use. They said, which one of these will you approve? and she approved the one that looked absolutely nothing like her, and it was a dreadful figure. Sorry to anyone who's got it, because I know it sold well, but to me it looked absolutely nothing like Rose. But that's the head she approved, apparently. So I don't know, maybe certain things they ever say, but I think you're right with calendars and photos and images and stuff. It's probably
well, anything, mate. Yeah, it probably wouldn't have been a case of we need you to say yes or no to put this figure out. It was probably more of a, we're basing this on your own face. So which one do you think, based on your character, is the most accurate? But
and also with the calendar, they're using the same images they've used, I think, for the last two, but they've just put them in different colours with a different backdrop. So it's almost the same image as before, from what I can tell. Anyway, but who knows? Hopefully it'll appear in it, but we don't know.
Yeah. That's why you
when you see him in the cafe, ask him.
Hi, Pete. What do you reckon to this calendar business? Shocking.
Shocking, isn't it? Yeah.
But that's why you see a lot of recycled Doctor poses on things like Big Finish covers and calendars and that kind of thing, because there's only a finite amount of images in the pool of images that they can use, and that for that very reason they can't just go out and grab a recent image of one of the actors, because that's outside of their contracts. They can only use all of the assets that were created while they were under contract within that role, if you know what I mean. So that's why you see a lot of recycled stuff. But there was one Big Finish cover that was awesome though. I can't remember the name of the story, but it was a Tom Baker and a David Tennant story. And it was really cool because the artist, I'm going to say, it wasn't the main man, Lee Binding. It was somebody else.
Ryan Applin?
No, it was Anthony Holub, I think. Holub, I think. And he had basically taken Peter Capaldi's body from one shot, taken the arm off of his body from another shot, the scarf of Tom Baker from a random photo shoot. Tom Baker's, it was very, very well done. So you can get around it by creating new poses out of other things. But yeah, for the main, it's you can always spot it as well. You can always spot those, like for people like you and I and other Doctor Who fans. You can see it a mile off. Like, I've seen that before. I've seen that one. But yeah.
Bit like the old Doctor Who annual. I don't know which year it is, 1974, I think, or something like that. They've got like Tom Baker's upper body, but they've used John Pertwee's hands. It's just John Pertwee's hands, but Tom Baker's body. So even then, they were doing it. Yeah, it is a struggle though. As a designer myself, I completely agree. So, if you haven't got great assets to work with in the first place, it's a bit of a challenge to do that and keep it fresh and new. Because Doctor Who shows no signs of slowing down. So every year you have to work up, new designs and artwork and stuff. It's tough. It's a tough old game. I just had a thought as well. Imagine the calendar designers and they're like, right, so for the next year, don't worry about this year's. We've sorted that. We've dumped Peter. Don't worry about it. For next year's, we've got to fit in Shooty, the new Doctor, and we've also got to fit in this David Tennant variant as well, because that's a different Doctor. We've also got to fit in, just imagine like putting their hair out. How are we going to? We've only got 12 pages. Yeah. Well, that's it. What do you do? 12 months. Yeah. 12. Well, you're gonna have to, I think they're gonna have to start doubling up soon. They're probably going to have to put 2 on a page. It's not difficult. I don't know why they have to struggle with it. Yeah. I mean, that would open up a whole new cool way of doing it. Just group random Doctors together. That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah. There we are. So, I haven't done anything Doctor Who related, buddy, by the way. Okay, well, next week we'll be able to talk about the exhibition, won't we? When you've done it, we'll be able to confer the one I've already seen now. Compare notes, and see what you think of it, Yeah. See if you think it's worth the £14, or if you like the other half saying, £14, a lot of money, isn't it? Going £14. But you might think or you might be like me saying, it's blimmin' brilliant. I want to go round again. Well, if you get value out of enjoying that stuff, then that £14 is worth it. I'll tell you what, mate. There's just quickly before we move on to the news. There's a little museum in Milton Keynes. I know. I've not been there, but I know it. The sci-fi. I think it's called actually the National Sci-Fi Museum. I've been wanting to go for ages. Yeah. And I was talking to somebody. Where was I talking to somebody? Can't remember. And tickets are £12 for that. And they said I wouldn't pay £1 to go and
look around.
What?
I was like, wow, okay, is it that bad?
Oh.
He's like, it's tiny. He said they've got like a few little random bits in cabinets. They've got a couple of costumes knocking around, a newspaper cutting of something and something else. He said, mate, I was round that museum in about 4.5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh, he said they are, when I was there, I said, have I missed something? Is there like another area I've missed or something like that? No, that's it. And he was like, oh, okay, well, that was that. So apparently they are adding to it. They're like adding new stuff and everything. But yeah, not that great.
I'm glad you told me that because I've been wanting to go for a while. It's a bit of a drive as well for me. It's about a good hour and a half, I reckon, to get there. And the photos I'd seen look pretty good. I think they'd got like a Blake 7 gun or something. I was like, yes. Blake 7. Yep. So yeah, I was thinking of going there. I've been on about that for a while, but I might not bother then.
Yeah, something to do if you're in Milton Keynes already. And got half a day.
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
or 4.5 minutes.
Why would you be in Milton Keynes? But yeah,
yeah, true. Anyone from Milton Keynes listening? Love you.
I genuinely do have a liking for Milton Keynes. It's sort of a guilty pleasure of places because Superman was filmed. Was it Superman 4? Superman 4 was filmed there because they had no money to film in America, so they turned Milton Keynes into New York.
That's correct.
I'll stick a couple of fire hydrants down. That's all we need. Yeah. So there's that.
And also, arguably more famously, Cliff Richard shot one of his music videos in the MK Centre. Wired for Sound on the old roller skates.
Got those big old aviator glasses on, hasn't he?
That's it.
Roller skating through Milton Keynes Shopping Centre. Yeah, how random is that?
Yeah, love it.
So I got a bit of love for Milton Keynes in a way, but
yeah. Right, we're waffling. Let's crack on. So before we get on to the news and then on to our review, remember, of course, as always, it's great having you back here listening to Doctor Who. If you're one of the long-time listeners, the old grizzled ancients, then welcome back. If you're new to the show, then welcome aboard. It's awesome to have you all here. But make sure that you are following and subscribing to this podcast in your preferred podcast app of choice, or head over to bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk/listen. That'll pop you over to all the networks and etc. Love to have you following the show. We put a new episode out every Friday, and you can also listen to these episodes on the website. We list them all there. Plus, you can read all of the cool articles from our writing team. There's a few that went up there recently. So Jordan put up a review of so Jordan goes through and reviews all of those old the Virgin New Adventures books that were out years ago. He reviews those. They're very cool. So his latest one is for St. Anthony's Fire and Falls the Shadow. So check that out. And then all of this chat around sci-fi museums and so on. Our main man, Harry, was up in Allendale recently and checked out the Museum of Classic Sci-Fi, which is very cool. Lots of very cool Doctor Who props there and everything. So check out Harry's review there. And also, we recently did our round table for the month. So May's round table for last month. Go and check that out. Talking about all new era Doctor Who stuff. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links are on the website. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week, and we have a free Discord server. Jump in there and chat Doctor Who with other Who fans. And lastly, don't forget to remember to check out Adam's channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, yes. I did do lots of filming at the Doctor exhibition, so I might do a video on it. I'm not sure if I'm allowed, because it does say on the website you're allowed to film in there.
All good then.
But it does say for personal use only. So does that mean you can't upload it to YouTube? I don't know.
Oh,
for personal use only, I think it says. I need to check that.
Yeah, double check.
Because I've done some great video in there, but I don't know if I'm allowed to use it. I don't know if I'm allowed to publish it, I mean.
Why don't you go ahead and then...
And it'll just see if it gets taken down.
Go ahead without permission and then ask for forgiveness after. That's always a good way to look at life. Yep.
I was going to say, we need somebody to do a report of it. I mean, I'm not going to do it because I can't be bothered. I'm not a writer. Our writing team do a fantastic job, but I'm not going to try and jump in on that because I haven't got the energy for it. But if Maria or yourself fancy doing a report on it, we definitely need someone to do
Well, I'll do it then. How about that?
Yeah.
Seeing as you're not going to do it. Yeah. All right then.
No, I'm not going to do it. No,
why would you?
Well, I can't even read my notes for today's episode, let alone anything else. My writing is terrible.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be using a pen and paper, though, would you? You'd be using a computer and a keyboard. You're not like old school like me.
Actually, I probably would. No, I wouldn't.
Would you?
I'd use a keyboard.
You would. You would be using a notepad. You'd be able to read your notes.
No, I rarely write my notepad. It's terrible. because of that reason, my writing's bad these days. But anyway, right, so let's oh God, look at that.
I'm showing Garry my notepad now. It's terrible. My writing's awful. Every time I record, I stare at it thinking, what have I written?
You can't see that,
bother.
obviously, listener, but Adam's just showed me just a series of wavy lines, essentially. Let's land the TARDIS, do some news.
Oh, you've got the news.
Verity Lambert has had her blue plaque unveiling happen recently, which is very, very cool. Normally these days on the Big Blue Box PCast, we normally pick out some news that is worthy of updating you guys on what's happening in the world of Doctor Who. So we're a bit more choosy and picky about that stuff now, because we went through many years of just reporting on absolutely everything. And for two reasons we stopped that. One, you're probably just bored, like, come on, we want to get to review, yeah. And the other thing is you guys have probably seen most of it anyway. But this one's very cool. So Verity Lambert, one of the OGs from the, obviously, getting Doctor Who up and running. Without Verity, there is no Doctor Who, so we have to report on anything to do with her. So the Blue Heritage Plaque, dedicated to Verity Lambert, was rededicated at a ceremony at Riverside Studios, which is very cool. So it was the event was very cool. It looks like they had some good people there from the old days, and it was unveiled by former showrunner Stephen Moffat and the programme's first director, Waris Hussein, which is very cool. And that was on Sunday, the 29th of May, so not that long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, in fact. And so it was organised by the DWAS, the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, and many of Verity's friends and colleagues and stuff were all there. We had Carol Ann Ford, we had Linda LaPlante, Larry Lamb, Caroline Quentin and Michael Grade, loads of very cool people there. And and they did a bit of a Q&A as well, and it all looks rather nice. So it was first shown actually back in 2014, but then was put in storage as they were redeveloping that whole studio complex and doing a bunch of work at Riverside. So now it's back on the wall. It looks very, very cool. So and I think they're gonna do a limited number of reproductions, slightly smaller plaques that you can buy from the DWAS. So if I can find that link anywhere, I'll put it in the show notes. But a cool little event, dude.
It is cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's a nice thing to have, and obviously very appropriate. Being at Riverside, I'd like to get down there to have a look at it actually, because they sort of redeveloped it a bit down there, and it's a nice part of London, that by Hammersmith Bridge. That's where the Dalek come out as well, so you can get that Doctor Who location ticked off. But yeah, it's really cool. I think it's great to honour Verity in this way, and a nice group of people there for that event as well. I mean, great to see the mothball back, unveiling it. He looks like he's having a good time there. There's a couple of photographs on I'm looking at from the event here. Patricia Quinn's there as well. Nice to see Carol Ann Ford there as well, and she's looking quite well, I think. Michael Grade, what's he doing there? Goodness me. But Waris Hussein as well. Yeah, so yeah, it looks like a great little event, and a lovely tribute to Verity, a very important person, not just in Doctor Who, but in television itself. So yeah, it's great, isn't it? I want to go down there and have a look at that plaque. And there's a Dalek there as well, so you can pop down and see a Dalek in the window if you want to. Yeah,
it wasn't Dalek Tat. He was too miserable.
No, we don't know what happened to Dalek Tat. No, we don't know.
He'd be too grumpy anyway to go to something like that. Two things though. First of all, we need to see Carol Ann Ford back for the 60th. I think
absolutely
that's a must, because she is looking amazing. She really is. So we need her back for the 60th. And just when you mentioned Stephen Moffat, it just prompted me something very funny. I was browsing through TV the other day looking for something to watch, and I didn't read the title, funnily enough. I was just skimming through, and then I just saw the words headed up by former Doctor Who showrunner. Didn't say who it was, and I thought, okay, let's have a look. It's The Time Traveller's Wife. Can you believe it?
Oh yeah, that's what he wrote. What he produced.
Stephen Moffat, he wrote the screenplay and executive produced it and done all that stuff. And I was thinking, for sake, Stephen, come on! Like, him and his agent are going through all the scripts and ideas and projects that are coming through. What do you want to work on? Do you want to branch out a little bit? Investigate some other genres. Oh, of course you don't. There's this one on here about time travel. Just effing go and do that, will you?
What is it? He's working on something at the moment with Mark Gatiss. So what is it?
I don't know.
I thought it was you that told me. Maybe it wasn't then. He's working on something. I've forgotten what it is, but it's something I like, and they're doing a remake of it, and I can't remember what it is. I thought it was you that told me. No, I don't know. But it's in the same sort of because it's something I like, but I can't think what it is. It's in the same sort of vein of science fiction, I think.
Frankenstein's monster.
No, they've done that.
Have they done that?
Have they? Oh no, they did Dracula, didn't they?
They did Dracula. Now they're doing Frankenstein.
Is it like Flash Gordon or something like that? I can't remember now. But anyway, they are working on something. But again, it's the sort of thing, same sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Old moth bag.
Old mothball.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to keep himself busy, and he's got to keep himself out of trouble.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know, mate. I think they're working on a couple of things.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that next week. We'll find it. Verity Lambert, heritage plaque unveiled, back on the wall. Beautiful. Right, dude. Review time. What we got?
Yeah, time to drift back to the swinging 60s for a bit of Hartnell Doctor Who, and this one's called The Rescue.
Planet Dido to rescue ship. Planet Dido to rescue ship. Come in, please. Over.
Watch out for Capullion. President, where are you, my dear boy?
Ian. Keep away.
You destroyed a whole planet? You're insane.
Vicki! No, don't!
Doctor! They're pushing me towards the edge! Hold on!
It's all going off.
It's all kicking off there.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, well, so, as we mentioned earlier, nice little two-part of this one from Series 2, from back in the day, and it was first broadcast. The first part was the 2nd of January, 1965, and then a week later, on the 9th of January, we had the follow-up, and it was written by David Whittaker, directed by Christopher Barry, stars William Hartnell, William Russell, Jacqueline Hill, and Maureen O'Brien as Vicki, and then just a few other people knocking around. A very short summary / synopsis for this one. The Doctor, Ian and Barbara arrive on the planet Dido. They find a crashed spaceship, the only two survivors of which are terrorised by the monster Quaquillion. But who is Quaquillion? ? So, dude, a randomly interjected little story in the midst of Hartnell doing his thing for the first couple of years. What do you reckon to this one?
I really like this one. I think there's a lot to love in this little two-parter. I mean, it doesn't have enough story to be anything more than a two-parter, so I think it's perfect being two parts. And really, it's just designed to introduce Vicki, isn't it? It's just a little story to introduce the new companion, and I think it does it well. I just thought it was a nice, simple story. I thought Hartnell was great in it. I love Hartnell in this one. He's absolutely on fire. I think there's 2, maybe 3 moments where he completely loses the script, and you can see the actors are just staring at him, waiting for him to find his place. But I think it just works. They kind of all work together. You can see the actors sort of helping him along. I think there's a bit where Ian sort of feeds him a line so he can pick back up where he was supposed to be. So although there are a couple of moments where he just loses track completely of what he's supposed to be saying, I think his performance is wonderful. He's just joyous in this. He just looks like he's having a ball. And when he has to be serious, when he goes in that cave and he's like, "You're insane," and he really says the line with, venomous conviction. I just think Hartnell's brilliant in this one. I think it's a nice introduction for Vicki. I think she's instantly likable. When she joins the TARDIS team, I feel like, yes, I want her to become part of the team. I like the character already. I love the little twist. Spoilers, listeners, if you haven't seen this one, I love the twist that Bennett is Quaquillion. I personally didn't see that coming. I don't know if you did. I bet you did, but I didn't see that coming. I thought it was a great little twist. I love the scene at the end with the foreboding room where the Doctor confronts him. I think there's a lot to love in this. And yeah, I'll dive into it more afterwards. But overall, it's just a nice little two-parter. It's not like the best story. It's nothing amazing. It's just a nice little easygoing story to introduce Vicki as a companion. And it could be classed as filler because of that. But I think if it is filler, it's enjoyable filler. So I like this one a lot.
Good. Yeah, good. I've only seen this the once, dude, when I was doing a classic watch through many moons ago, and I haven't been back and revisited since. But
yeah,
I agree with you, mate. There's a lot to like in this story because it's only 2 parts. There's no time to pad out everything. And if this was a 4-parter, 99% sure we would have said something like, it starts very good. But then, as you get,
we would have been. It would have been, yeah.
You know the drill. So, but no, just because it's 2 parts, it's the story just moves along at a steady pace from start to finish. It's very good, and there's some brilliant things in it. And just to hit you with some knowledge on this one, this was the first episode or the first story that broke Doctor Who into the top 10 most watched programs on TV for that week.
Oh, wow.
So something that Doctor Who had not managed to kind of get into before that. Obviously, until they brought it back in 2005. But having said that, it does remain one of the programme's highest charting episodes, even taking into account the more modern Doctor Who stuff. So episode 1, 12 million viewers.
Wow.
Episode 2 jumps up 13 and a bit million viewers just for this random 2-parter. So it's a really important story for that reason alone. It's the one that sort of springboarded Doctor Who into sort of regular high viewing figures before that. So I think prior to this, it was viewed very much as a tiny little niche program at the time, if that makes sense. It was an acquired taste, I guess, if you like, outside of like hardcore sort of science fiction fans, I guess, at the time. Sort of Joe Public, I mean, just watching everyday stuff on TV, may not have dived into Doctor Who because it just wasn't there, mainstream enough. Whereas this one just throws Doctor Who right into the top 10, and yeah, it's amazing. So for that reason alone, it's cool. And the introduction of Vicki is very cool. She's got a lot of spark about her. She's she's got a good balance as well. She's got this sort of up for it, very involved attitude, but at the same time, you can tell that what's happened to her since they crash landed on Dido, she's bruised a little bit mentally. She's a bit worn down and a little bit, because that's why she takes it out on
Barbara.
When Barbara kills her little pet doggy.
Oh yeah, Sandy, poor Sandy.
Oh, Sandy,
shot to bits.
Yeah, blown to and so that she gets upset with Barbara and stuff, and it's very sweet the way the Doctor sort of takes her off for a little talk, and he's like, oh, you mustn't be angry.
I love that.
She was just looking out for you, she thought you were in danger, sort of thing, and she's like, yeah, you're right, yeah, thank you, Doctor. Some beautiful little moments in this one, isn't there? There's some lovely Hartnell's amazing in it. He's funny, there's a bit of he gets messy, he dishes out a couple of slaps here and there, and
he gets stuck in, doesn't he? He always does.
Yeah, and it's just lovely, mate. It's one of those classic stories where you don't have to think too hard. You're not bored. You're not having to think, what the bloody hell's going on? And you're not thinking, oh God, hurry up and finish. It's just a lovely little, very cool, and also outside of Doctor Who, just a very cool little science fiction story. Just good old fashioned crash landed on a planet. At face value, you think Croquillian is one of the inhabitants that's, keeping them slaves almost. And then the twist, as you said, we get the little story unfold at the end. So yeah, it's very cool, mate. Yeah, I really liked watching it. Very cool.
I just wanted to say, it might probably make you laugh because, Hartnell, I've heard in a couple of behind the scenes documentaries, if ever he had a fight scene or he had to whack someone with a stick or a chair or whatever, apparently Hartnell used to really get stuck in. He used to love all that. And the other actors, they used to say to the other actors, now, just to warn you, Bill probably will actually hit you. He does actually get into it a bit too much. You can see it when he's like hitting him with the stick. Hartnell's really going for it, isn't he? So because the guy who played Coquillian said, oh, I loved it. He said, I could tell Bill was really into it, and I gave him as good as he got. So we had a good old scrap on set, but yeah, I just think that's so funny, just seeing Hartnell just launching in and bashing doors down and getting into a ruckus. I thought it was funny. But you're right, the other scenes where he's like playing the gentle side of the First Doctor, which, when people think of the First Doctor, they think of him as being very abrasive and harsh and grumpy. There is such a beautiful side to the First Doctor that comes out a lot more than we sort of often think, a lot more than we remember. And the scene with Vicki as well was charming, isn't it? Where he's like, now come on. And because he's just lost Susan, I think he instantly sort of warms to Vicki, doesn't he? And tries to sort of help her, and he sort of takes her under his wing, doesn't he? I think. And that's a really nice natural progression, because they mentioned Susan at the start. There's another really lovely scene at the start where the Doctor's asleep and the TARDIS has landed, and they're like, come on, wake up. He's like, oh, and there's that. And he accidentally calls out for Susan, and then he stops and remembers she's not there anymore. And so Ian and Barbara then go out and have a quiet little chat with themselves, just saying, well, it's only natural he would still be thinking about her because, and all this sort of thing. I think, it's lovely that they've still picked up on that. And then we introduce Vicki, and he takes Vicki under his wing because he's just lost Susan. And she's not, in this story anyway, she's not just a carbon copy of Susan. I mean, Vicki does feel like a different character, completely different character. I think as we go on, I think Maureen O'Brien perhaps got a bit, she wasn't totally happy because she became a bit of a screaming companion like Susan became. I don't know if they gave her enough to do to satisfy Maureen O'Brien, which is a shame. But I think in this story you can see, like you said, great spark there, and an interesting character, and instantly likable. I just really warmed to her straight away. I thought, she's a good character. And Maureen O'Brien talks very fondly about William Hartnell as well, and I always like that, because I know there are some actors that didn't get on with William Hartnell, or certainly actors that William Hartnell didn't get on with, that don't talk very fondly about him. But Maureen O'Brien, she's got a very no-nonsense way about her. She says what she means, and that's just how she is. And she said she just clicked with Hartnell because he got that, she was very straight-talking, and he was very straight-talking, and then he would have about 3 blow-ups a day, apparently, and she would be the one to sort of bring him out of it. And she said, she got on very well with him. You just had to get to know him, and you had to know how to deal with him. And so I always like it when you get somebody who works closely with William Hartnell that talks positively about him, because not everyone does. And like anybody, there are 2 sides to every person, that's good and bad. So it's always nice to hear the good side of Hartnell there, which, Maureen often talks about in interviews. And so does Peter Purves. I think Peter Purves is another one that got on very well with him.
Yeah, no, I get that, dude. Yeah, and there's a few little behind the scenes nuggets of things like that. So they wanted her to dye her hair black so that she resembled Susan a bit more, and she refused. And she's like, "Why would you do that?"
She's like, "Why don't you just get Carol Ann back if you want to do that?" That's what I mean. She's very sort of straight talking. Yeah, that's
cool, isn't it? Yeah, and that kind of comes out in her performance as well. Like those scenes where they're at their little hut thing, wherever they live in. And when she's having a conversation with the Doctor and Barbara, when she blows up at Barbara a little bit, and that kind of thing, you can see that strength is coming out when she's talking to people, and even when she's talking to Caquillian a couple of times, you can see that she rises up a little bit. She's ready to, but then she remembers, actually, probably don't want to be killed like all the other one, because that's the cool thing about the story, is that Bennett has manipulated the whole thing so there's a bit of a spoiler, but for anyone that's not seen this one, the ship crash lands, and Bennett has killed the pilot. So in order to cover up his story, he basically sets off a bomb that kills off what he thinks kills off all the locals, all the Didoans, and fakes being ill and everything like that. Waits, they've been patiently waiting for this rescue ship, hence the title, The Rescue. And then when the ship gets here, he's been keeping Vicki alive so that she can corroborate his story. And then he goes back, and everything's fine. So the way that he manipulates things, as both Bennett and as Caquillian, you can see that she's slowly starting to rebel. But then it gets to a certain point where she realises, oh crap, yeah, I don't want to meet the same fate as everyone else, and she sort of backs off a little bit. And that's what's great about it. It's the Doctor and Ian and Barbara who have sort of liberated her out of that situation, which is lovely. So, but you can see that she's very strong in her performance as well as a person, working on the show. So I think she's a cool companion dude. She's very cool.
Yeah, her performance is good, isn't it? Because she's a very, at this point, I think they say in the documentary this is perhaps one of the first TV work she got, and she does seem like a good actress. Her performance is very good, and I say that as in, back in sort of 60s Doctor Who, sometimes the actors just didn't get it, or they didn't always deliver the most natural performance, shall we say. They could often be over the top or just not very convincing. And I think with Maureen O'Brien, she instantly seems at ease in the Doctor Who world, and she just seems to deliver a very I wouldn't say realistic because it's science fiction, but she delivers a good performance. Her acting is actually really good in it. In everything she has to do, she has a lot of emotions to go through in this story, and she just fits in almost straight away. I think, you instantly sort of like her. I just wanted to ask you, did you guess the twist, by the way, when you first watched it? Were you surprised when he revealed himself as Quillian, or were you like, yeah, I saw that coming a mile off?
No, I didn't see it a mile off, but I had a little suspicion.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, just because it wasn't on the nose too much, because with certain scenes, he does play that very well. So Ray Barrett plays that sort of very grumpy, moody, injured sort of person really well. And so you think to yourself, oh, okay, he's probably, there is something genuinely wrong with him, it seems. But then there was a few things that gave him away. So when Quillian knocks on his door and you don't see him answer the door, you just hear him. I thought, oh, yeah. And then you never see them together throughout the whole story until, the reveal at the end. And so, yeah, I had a sneaky little suspicion, but I wasn't about to put my house on it, if that makes sense. Yeah. I guess you mentioned earlier you didn't know. You didn't see it. No,
I didn't guess, actually. It does seem, I suppose when the reveal comes, it does seem obvious. You think, oh, right, yeah, okay, of course. But I didn't see it coming. No, it's quite a nice little twist, I thought. And I like the design of Quillian as well. I think for a 60s Doctor Who, in brackets, monster, I think it's a really good design. It's the headpiece looks quite complicated and the rest of the body's quite simple. But I would think if I was a kid back in is this 64? What 65, year are we now?
Yeah.
65, is it? I reckon if I was a kid watching this in 1965, I would have been quite impressed by that as a monster. And I think, although we would probably laugh at it now, the Beast and the Sand Beast as well, although we probably would laugh at those, I think at the time, again, when you saw that thing lurking in a cave, if you were like a 7 or 8 year old watching Doctor Who back then, you'd probably be quite freaked out by it. It's quite good for the time, I think, the costumes. But yeah, I love the design of Quillian. I think he's a cool looking Doctor Who monster.
He is kind of cool, isn't he? And I imagine that
interesting.
I imagine that kids back in the 60s watching this would have crapped their pants because.
I think so. I would have loved it as a kid if I was watching this back then. I'd have been like, I'd have absolutely loved it. Yeah,
yeah. That's what. So back then there was, kids weren't so desensitized to stuff because things were still quite, most things were practical effects and makeup and stuff that we had. Of course, there were no. I guess there was in a very rough, basic way, but there wasn't. Certainly, Doctor Who couldn't afford it. Any sort of special effects or anything. So this was a real thing. That when we first see it, when it meets Ian and Barbara, that's quite terrifying because it's not.
It's just lurking by the TARDIS, isn't it? The
exactly,
zoom out shot.
Yeah, it's just lurking, and So, what did you think to Ray Barrett's performance then as both Bennett and Quillian? Because I think he mentioned, if you watch any of the behind the scenes on the old original DVDs for these, he mentions that. He didn't want to ham it up at all. He really wanted to play it as straight as possible as Bennett, so that when the reveal did come, it wasn't like, we've seen him act a certain way as Quillian. Yeah. So he tried to play it really, really straight, almost as if no acting really, just, I'm just a guy that's laying on the bed and has a bit of a grump now and then. But he was kind of cool, I thought, especially the end when he has that fight with the Doctor. That was cool.
Yeah, I think because I didn't guess, I think he did a good job there. I think the voice, he does try and talk differently as Quillian, obviously, to try and mask it. So as Bennett, he's a very sort of grumpy, quite a deep voice. With Quillian, he's trying to sort of puts on a bit of a voice. And it was enough to fool me. I didn't guess. So, yeah, I think he did a good job. I thought he was he quite well known at the time for doing like Gerry Anderson stuff, or was that later? He became quite a... he became quite a famous sort of for doing voices. I think it was for Gerry Anderson anyway. I thought he did a good. There was enough difference between the two for me not to guess it was the same person.
Right. Yeah. So this would have been around that same time, dude. So he would have been doing things with Thunderbirds, and that was the mid '60s, and maybe shortly before that, maybe something like that. But yeah, around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's very cool. I thought he was good. Actually, talking of that scene where the Doctor confronts him and knows that he's playing up, knows it's not him. There's one scene, but just before that scene, actually, before they start talking to each other, which for the standards of classic Who was absolutely beautiful to watch. So there's a bit where the Doctor's already in the chamber, and you see Quillian walking into the chamber, and it takes about 30 seconds. It's quite a long shot. And the music from Tristram Carey plays, really eerie kind of music.
Yeah, foreboding,
Yeah, and the camera's placed up high, and it pans down slowly as this music's playing, and Quillian, and it's lit perfectly. It's dark and with light just on the right bit as Quillian's walking. I'm getting goosebumps, mate, talking about it, because we've spoken about so many stories, even up to McCoy's era, where we just say like, oh, this is really static. It's really static. The camera doesn't move. Nothing happens. If Christopher Barry can manage this in 1965 with a budget of around £12, there's no reason why any story from that point onwards couldn't do it. It gives me goosebumps, dude. I say every time. This is only second I've watched it, but it was just, I watched it and I thought, I actually said out loud, that looks effing awesome. And then that intensifies as the Doctor's clocked who he is, and there's no Scooby-Doo moment. There's no sort of tussle when he runs off and he tries to deny it, and at the end of the story they take the mask off, and I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. There's none of that ridiculousness going on. He just does it. He just takes the mask off, takes the costume off, and it's all cards on the table. And that's when the Doctor gets, starts to throw him about a bit, and those two other dudes turn up. But it's just a great little 10 minutes of the episode, dude. It's I just love that. I'm going to watch it on YouTube, I think, after this, because it's a beautiful moment. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, because the set's very simple, but it's so atmospheric, isn't it? It's got the dry eyes going, and just the long. They made it probably look a lot longer than it is, and it just they kept it simple, and it's just like you said, it's the way it's shot. Because what I love about it is this is what I mean about Hartnell just commanding the screen. He's just stood there with his back to Quillian, but you can see in his face he's figured it out. And he's ready to confront him. He's just going to stand there and let him walk up to him and turn around, and then it's going to kick off. And it's that, isn't it? That's the moment you mean, isn't it? It's just it's all there in that shot of like, here we go. This is all going to kick off now. The Doctor's figured it out. It is great, and like you said, direction great, music absolutely on point for that scene, and the set itself nice and simple but looks brilliant. So I absolutely get what you're saying about that. I felt the same. I thought I just thought, like, for a little simple two-parter, they've made a lot of effort in this. It's everything seems to be working well.
It's amazing, that bit. Listener, if you've not watched, you need to watch this one for that scene alone. It's a great Hartnell bit. That. So what do you think to Inner Barbara then? Because I'm guessing we're going to be fairly consistent with the other stories we've reviewed from the Hartnell era with them too, but just it's like being back at home with a cup of tea watching those two, because sometimes you get the feeling with some, I don't know what it is, but with some companions in modern Doctor Who, you get the feeling that they've either been written a certain way once their character has been established, and you think, okay, because how many times have we mentioned oh, Rose isn't annoying in that one, but she's good in that one.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing. And Clara, like, oh, she's okay in that one, but for some reason she's been written weird in that one. With the classic companions, especially people like Jamie, now Vicki, but definitely Ian and Barbara, they just have a real consistency to them. Like every time that you go back and like when we put our schedule together and we go back and watch some of these classic ones from Hartnell and Troutnell's era, it's like I know exactly 100% what I'm going to get from those two. And it's such a delight watching them together because they know each other. They know each other's minds almost. You know, the interactions between them just seems so effortless and so seamless as they're talking between themselves. I love watching those two, and it's gutting, you know, when we don't see them anymore because they've just got such a great mix of really. It's a bit of a love letter to them, I guess, gushing a little bit. But I don't know about you, Bud, but I just love watching those two and the Doctor together. They're so good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's the thing. There is something about Ian and Barbara. They're so likable. And whenever, like you said, I love spending time with them. It's like you've just said, it's just, I love watching them. They take me back to a sort of simpler time when, I don't know, there's just something about, you know, their characters, which is so sort of simplistic, if you like, and lovable. And I love the progression as well because, you know, at this point they've got to know the Doctor. He's even like showing Barbara how to work the TARDIS. There's that lovely scene where he's like shows how to open the door or something, just something really simple. And he's like, "You won't do that in flight, will you?" And all this sort of thing. And you know, if you compare that to when they first meet him, when he's electrocuting Ian on the TARDIS console, you know, I love the progression in the writing. So like you said, the characters have stayed the same. They're these warm, caring characters, you know, that have grown to get to know the Doctor, and the Doctor's got to know them. And there's a real trust between the three characters at this point compared to where they started. And I mean, the difference in Hartnell's Doctor as well, in terms of progression, where he's, you know, going mad because people have entered the TARDIS in An Earthly Child. And at this point, he's grown to see this all right, you know, this can work. And he's at this point, he's actually inviting somebody to join the TARDIS. So that, you know, it's great progression that he's travelled with Ian and Barbara. He's got to see that, you know, it's not always a bad thing. He can allow people in, and he's actually going to invite Vicki to join them, you know. So it's a great progression from where we were in the beginning with An Earthly Child. But yeah, they're great characters, aren't they? They care for the Doctor so much as well, you know. They've just got to know his little quirks, and they know he'll have his little tantrums, but underneath it all, he's a good guy. And yeah, but they are great characters. And I think the only way I can sum it up is what you said. I love spending time with them. I just love seeing them on screen and watching them. Yeah,
it's great, isn't it? And that's another good little sort of turning point for the series, I guess, from that comes out of this story. And it is the first time that the Doctor asks somebody willingly, you know, to come and travel with them and do all that stuff, you know. And I guess that sort of set the precedent then for the series moving forward. It's always been that. You normally see it, don't you, with regens, or, you know, when a new actor comes in as a companion, whatever, we always have inevitably a scene of some sort where the Doctor invites them to come and travel and all that point. So that really stems from this story onwards. Because, like you said, he was very grumpy prior to that about people even getting near the TARDIS, or let alone going into it. So it's very cool. Yeah. I was just looking to see when because I get lost in the timeline. I was just looking to see when Ian and Barbara, when do they leave? Because, I mean, there is a lot of change behind the scenes at this point, which is going to affect Hartnell in terms of his personal relationship with the show. I mean, because doesn't Verity leave around Web Planet? So I'm not sure. I'm getting confused now. But I think, you know, obviously Caroline Ford's left, and William Hartnell was very, you know, desperately sad to see her go. He really didn't want her to leave. And then I think when William Russell and Barbara, sorry, I've forgotten the name. When they leave, he was, you know, really upset. He was furious. So William Russell says, Jacqueline Hill, he said, you know, when we decided to leave, he just didn't want that to happen at all. You know, he wanted to keep it as the family, you know, keep it together. He was furious that they wanted to leave. And, you know, because he didn't want the family to break up. And so you've got Caroline's already left. And then obviously,
Verity Lambert, who we got on very well behind the scenes, and then William and Jacqueline when they finally leave as well. But at this point, you feel that family atmosphere. You feel like they've almost taken Hartnell's Doctor under their wing as well. So although he likes to think he's out front, sort of doing it all, if he hasn't got Ian and Barbara there to have his back, he'd probably be in a lot more trouble. They do sort of look after each other well, I think. So there is a family feel to the three of them, I think.
There is definitely, yeah. It's The Chase is their last story, isn't it, dude? Yeah, they go on to be replaced with it'll be Peter Purvis, won't it? And
how many stories is that in front? So after this, you got the Romans, Web Planet, Crusade, Space Museum, and Chase. Okay, so they're still with him for a few more stories yet. So which is probably a good thing, because I might be wrong, but I think wasn't it around Web Planet that Verity Lambert left? I'm only saying that because I'm thinking of Adventure in Space and Time when you get the scene, the leaving party, and I'm pretty sure, but I don't know how accurate that is. Anyway, sort of there's changes behind the scenes at this point, obviously, because we're a couple of series into the show, so obviously things are changing, but but Bill just wants it to stay the same. He just wants everything to stay the same, which is we all feel like that at times.
You got to keep moving. Change is good. Anyway, so I think the cast is so small, we've spoken about them. So the only other two people that are in it that you actually see, because you hear people on the radio from the rescue ship, you hear them talking and so on, but the only other two people are the Didonians, who turn up at the end to slap up old Barrett. Bennett, sorry.
Wreck the ship,
But they're uncredited, so that's Jon Stewart and Colin Hughes. They were just two extras that have no lines in the programme. So that's it, really, dude. There's nothing else going on. The only other thing we should talk about, the really, really important character, is old Space Doggy that gets shot by Barbara.
Oh, poor old Sandy. Actually, I feel more sorry for Jacqueline Hill in that scene than I do for poor Sandy, because in the making of, they slow down. When she fires the gun, you're talking about special effects earlier, that prop, I mean, you can see it when you watch it. It sort of blows up in her face. And they said, actually, if you slow it down, it actually did blow up in her face. And it was quite scary. I don't know if it actually burnt her. I'm not sure, but it was quite scary at the time. But yeah, you can see that. Poor old Jacqueline Hill. Her face says it all as well. She looks shocked by the explosion that comes out of it. And the end of the gun kind of just falls off as well. It doesn't even seem to go off right, does it? Obviously, no time for retakes back then. It's just, that's fine. Yeah. That'll do. It's poor old Jacqueline Hill with a smoke all over her face, and but you can kind of see that. But yes, obviously poor old Sandy, the beast, Sand Beast, gets blown to pieces. Bit of a shame.
But Tom Sheridan played the Sand Beast. You can see it's a guy in a suit when he gets killed and he's rolled around. You can see his legs moving and whatnot. But Doctor Who charm. But that's such a cool moment, because Barbara obviously thinks that she's in danger from this snarling, growling, beast, and she basically blows it up, and then Vicky's like, what are you doing? That's trained at this, only coming out for food, and oh, bless her. Here's a funny
actually, I did think Barbara seemed a bit, I mean, she has just killed Vicky's pet, and although she does say sorry, she doesn't seem that remorseful. Like, I don't blame Vicky for getting angry about that. I think she has every right to be angry, but then Vicky ends up apologising to Barbara, doesn't she? And but I love that bit where the Doctor turks around and says, Barbara's not a bad person, you've got to get to know her and all that. It's a lovely scene, that is. But I don't blame Vicky for being angry. She just has her pet shot to pieces. So I think Barbara should have been a little bit more, I'm really sorry. And I think there was a sort of underlying message there that they don't really delve into, but they're sort of, Barbara seems to, if anything's scary in this, she's a bit judgmental. She'll just try and kill it or run away from it. Like the Caquillian, he's at the start, he's like, I'm trying to help you, and she's so scared of it, she falls off the rock.
Oh, she falls off.
So there's, so I think they're trying to say, don't judge a book by its cover. Just because it looks scary, it might not be. So I hope Barbara learns from that.
I must admit, I did have a little chuckle at that bit when she falls off. Because what I had in my head was, you remember the old Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons, and when he falls off a cliff and he just, he got that sound effect like, and then like a big ring of smoke comes out when he hits because her fall seems to go on for a little while, and you do hear that sort of as she screams on the way down. You can, because I thought, well, the way that they've made that come across, I instantly thought, well, that's the end of Barbara. Because it sounds like she's just
was saved by a big bouffant hair.
It feels like she's fallen about 500 feet. And and then you see her, she's just, all her clothes are intact, all her hair's fine, everything. She's got a twig.
A twig, yeah, it's just I noticed that, just one twig.
Oh, bless her. But that was funny. Barbara, she is a bit like, shoot first, kind of apologise later. That's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, right. I've got nothing else on my notes, dude, other than, as I mentioned, Tristram Carey's music. It's a bit minimal throughout this one. It doesn't kick in too many times. But when it does, it's got a nice atmospheric sort of eerie feel to it. So nothing standout, but has some lovely little moments music-wise.
Yeah, no, I haven't really got anything else to say. I think my first note was that it had the whole thing, like the sets, the rocket and the style of it, has this real classic sort of almost 60s Flash Gordon feel about it. But I haven't really got anything else to say, I don't think, on this one. Cool.
Okie dokie. Scores then. It's you to go first, bud.
Yeah, now I'm going to go over 7 out of 10, which might sound a bit low considering how much I said I enjoyed this, but I don't think I can go any higher than that because it is just a little simple two-parter to introduce Vicki. It's a simple little story. It's nothing amazing, but it's very, very enjoyable. So I hope that doesn't sound too low because I really did like this one. And I might up it if you're higher. I'm not sure. What are you going for?
Well, I'm going to go with a 7.5, actually, bud.
All right, I'm going to go with 7.5 then. Go on. Because I did really enjoy it. And I thought when I wrote it, 7.5 sounds low, but it's not amazing, is it? It's not one you'd say to people, you've got to watch The Rescue. It's absolutely amazing. But it is just a really good little two-parter. So let's go with 7.5.
Yeah, it's a good solid watch, dude. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
And like you said, it's not like a big recommended story that you would throw to people if they want to get into the Hartnell era. It's just when you come across it, it will be a good one for you to watch throughout series 2. Yeah.
Do you think it's a good one if people said, I haven't watched any Hartnell, what story is he good in? Would you say this one's a good one for anyone that hasn't watched a Hartnell?
I would actually, yeah. I would.
Because he is good at it, isn't he?
In terms of like epic story and things that impact the characters, no. But as a I guess as a dipping your toe in the water, a nice intro to the Hartnell era, then yeah, defo.
Yeah, because he's got some good moments, isn't he, in this one? Yeah.
Yes. Right, what did our listeners think after a 7.5 from us then? Over on Twitter, we had Chippy T says, conceptually, this is a great idea, and a new Who version would be excellent. Despite Daleks, the Munsters, a fake Doctor and companions new and old, it's an episode too long to truly top draw. Farewell to the brilliant Ian and Barbara. Much missed. 8 from me.
Right, okay.
Yeah, writer Jordan Shortman says, I really like this one. Maureen O'Brien instantly wins you over, and it's not hard to see why she became the new companion. Hartnell, Russell and King continue to be on top form, and the story is rightly lighter in tone after the Dalek invasion of Earth. Good, harmless fun. Will Sanger says, it's a very good introduction for Vicki. The story presents her pain having been entrapped well, and her joining the TARDIS feels very natural. The twist with Quillian works effectively, but I do think there is too much venturing through caves. 7 out of 10. Edward Giluli, a good introductory story for Vicki, which at 2 episodes doesn't drag. Quillian looks really good. 7 out of 10. And lastly, Jacob Moore says, fun little story that introduces a new companion well. Really liked Vicki. She seemed the perfect replacement to Susan. Also really liked Ian in this one. A 6 out of 10.
Sweet.
And over on Facebook, Jeff Waddle says, not a lot of story. And who Cockaliki is painful obvious from very remember they called him that. Ian calls him Cockaliki, I think. But somehow we get an entertaining wee story that doesn't outstay its welcome. The Doctor instantly bonds with Vicki in a way that he seldom did with Susan, and it's really the template for all new companion introductions for decades to come. Poor Sandy, who is woefully due in return in Big Finish. An 8 out of 10. Joseph Howarth. Other than the fact it is a story that introduces there really isn't a lot going on. But does it mean it's bad? Not really. The regulars are really good. Introduces Vicki really well. Quillian looks really cool, even if you could tell it's actually Bennett posing as Quillian. The fact that they are never in the same room as each other kind of gives that away. I guess the problem is that it's short as a short. It gives an interesting premise and then ends very quickly as a result. So it's a story that I wouldn't come back to again and again, but in the end it's worth a watch. A 7.
Okay.
Lewis Palmer, Justice for Sandy. That Dino lad was innocent, I tell you. It just says real fun stuff all around. Toby Coleman, first watched this one recently and loved it. It's a simple introduction to Vicki, and the established regulars were great as well. The monster looks pretty good for a guy in a suit. The only downside is it does wrap up rather quickly. 7.5.
Okay.
Charlie Turner, a pretty decent 2-parter, somewhat forgettable. I can only remember that it introduces Vicki, with the rumours going around that season 2 is in the works for the collection Blu-ray range.
Ooh.
I may give it another try if that box set does indeed get made and released, even if I do currently wonder what they are going to do for the missing episodes of The Crusade. But goes on to give it a 7 out of 10. And lastly, Mark Donaldson, one of our writers, says this is quietly the most important Doctor Who story up to this point. It's the first time that the Doctor actively invites somebody aboard the TARDIS that Hartnell plays with such charm and real twinkle. He obviously sees a surrogate granddaughter in Vicki, and the welcoming TARDIS atmosphere offered to the space orphan is a testament to just how far the Doctor, Ian and Barbara have come. I bloody love it.
Cool.
Yeah, good stuff, Mark. Right, so some actually decent scores for this one, Bud. I think the average is a 7.5, which is good. Next week, then, what we're reviewing them.
Yeah, so we'll be back to Torture Miracle Day next week. This is episode 3 now, isn't it? And it's called Dead of Night.
Interesting title. Let's hope this one's picking up a bit from last week, eh?
Yeah, it needs to. Needs to pick up a bit.
Yeah, indeedy. Okay, cool. On that note, then, let's wrap up there, dude, for episode 300 and something. What are we on now?
54.
354.
That's the one.
Thank you for coming back and listening to another episode. Dear Doctor Who listener, it's been great to have you here. As always, listening to us waffle on about Doctor Who. Really good story, that one, The Rescue. Go and check that out if you've not watched it yet. And we gave it a 7.5. Next week, as Adam said, we're back onto Torchwood to get through Miracle Day, and it is the third ep, Dead of Night. So get your DVDs or Blu-rays out. Or Torchwood is still on iPlayer here in the UK, so just fire that up and give that a watch, because we'll be asking for your thoughts and reviews as always. In the meantime, make sure you're following or subscribing to this podcast on your fave podcast app. We put a new episode out every Friday, so you won't want to miss those. And you can also listen on the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. All the apps are on there for free as well. We're on the socials, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Just give us a like and a follow. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week, and we have a free Discord server. Link is on the website. Hop in there and chat Doctor Who with lots of other Who fans. Also, remember to check out Adam's channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, yes. Lots of YouTube vids. Also on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter and the old Facebook.
Ye old Facebook. Yep.
Ye old Facebook, yeah.
Lovely. Go and check out Adam's videos. Loads of cool stuff. Grab a cup of tea, get comfy and enjoy all of that stuff. It's very cool. Until next week for episode 355. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,